Hey guys, in this section what we're going to do is insert some data into our database using SQL. We can do this through Php Myadmin or another tool, but I want to get you, I want to introduce you to the command line, to the MySQL command line, and we can basically do anything we want from there. We can insert data, we can select data, update, we can do pretty much anything. So if you have XAMPP installed, it's a little tricky to get to the MySQL command line. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you how to get to it, navigating to the directory we need to get to, and then logging in. And then I'm going to show you, we're going to create a batch file and put it on our desktop so we can just click that and it will open a command prompt for us and we'll be able to run MySQL. Alright, so you can use standard Windows command line. If you go to the search box and type in CMD and hit enter, and it'll bring you to a window like this. I also have a program called Git Bash, which allows you to use a Git repository, which we're not going to do, but and you can also run Linux-like commands here. So if you want this Git Bash, I believe it's git-scm.com, I believe. git-scm.com, I'm pretty sure. But I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to use the standard Windows command line. Alright, so what we want to do is navigate to our MySQL bin folder. So let's go to the root. So we say cd space / which brings us to the C drive, and we want to navigate to our XAMPP folder, which should be in our C drive. Alright, yeah, it's right here. And then we want to go into MySQL and then into the bin. Alright, and this is where we can run mysql.exe. So we want to change directory and we want to go in XAMPP XAMPP/mysql/bin. Alright, and if we do a dir, that'll show us the contents of this folder, which is the same as this here. Alright, so to run MySQL, we have to say mysql.exe, and we need to log in here as well. So we'll say --user. My user is root. Alright, and then we're going to do --password, and my password is 1234. Alright, so now we're in. You can see that we're in because you see this prompt here, this MySQL, and then the greater than symbol. So we're in SQL now. And we can do stuff like show databases. And you want to end it with a semicolon or it's just going to give you a new line. Alright, so you can see all of our databases, including store. Alright, so basically this is the same information as when we were in Php Myadmin. Alright, before we go any further with this, I want to create that batch file so that we don't have to navigate to this directory and do all that work when we don't need to. So what we want to do, we'll close this, and I'm going to create a new text file, and we're going to call this MySQL command.bat. Alright, and if you can't see file extensions here, you can see how we can see the .bat, then you need to go and enable show extensions. So open up any Windows Explorer folder and go to Organize, and then Folder and Search Options, and on View you want to make sure that you have this Hide Extensions for Known File Types. You want that unchecked. By default I believe it's checked, so you just want to uncheck that so we can see our file extensions. Alright, now let's open this. You want to open this with Notepad. I'm going to use Notepad++, and we want to add some some text in here. We want to say echo off, and then we want to say echo starting MySQL command line. And then we want to go to the directory, which is, let me see, it's going to be C examp slash MySQL slash bin slash MySQL dot exe. And this is basically the same stuff that we typed in the editor. My user is root, and my password is 1234. And then we just want to type pause. Alright, so this should do it. Let's save this and close it, and then if we run that, it's going to bring us right to our MySQL. Alright, so very, very handy little file. Now we can go over some basic commands here. If we want to create a database, we can do that as well. We can say create database mytestdb, and you want to put a semicolon and then enter, and you can see it says query OK, one row affected. Let's open up PHP Myadmin just so we can get a graphical view of our databases. And you can see right here we have mytestdb. I just created this in that command line. Now we can create tables from the command line, and of course run other queries like select and insert. And I want to show you some insert queries so we can add data to our database, but I just want to show you how to create a table. And we need to do use mytestdb. Okay, so we can say show tables. Now we're not gonna get anything because we don't have any tables, so let's create a table. Let's say create table, and we'll just call this my test table. And now we want to put in our fields. Alright, so let's just say let's see, we'll do my test field 1 and my test field 2, and we want to specify the data type. So after my test field 1, we want to say varchar, and we'll just say 20. That's the limit. So basically doing the same thing that we did in PHP Myadmin. So we'll create another one. We'll say my test field 2, which will also be varchar with 20. Alright, so if we click enter, we have an error. Okay, near double quotes. Now if you click the up arrow, it'll bring back your last command. Let's see, create table, my test table. Oh, we need another ending parentheses right here. Alright, because we have this beginning parentheses, which is where we define our fields, and we have a varchar, and we put that in parentheses, another varchar, put the 20 in parentheses, and then we still need the closing one. So that should do it. Alright, so now if we say show tables, I always forget that semicolon. Alright, so we have my test table, and if we go back to PHP Myadmin and reload, we have our table. And if we click on it, go to structure, we can see our fields. Alright, now that table doesn't have this table doesn't have a primary key, so let's create another table in our test database, and we'll create an ID with a primary key. Alright, so we want to basically we'll just use this, and we'll go ahead and change the table name. We'll just say my test table 2, and then before the test field 1, let's create a field called ID, and that's going to be an integer. We'll say 11, and then we're going to say not null, auto increment, and that should have an underscore in between the words, and then primary key, which doesn't have an underscore, and then a comma. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. Query OK. If we go back and reload, we now have a test table 2. Go to structure. You can see we have our ID and its auto increment. Let's make sure that the primary key is there. Actually, it's not going to show us through here. You can see right here, primary key. You can see that it's silver. All right, so that's good. Let's see what else. Show tables. All right, so I want to insert some data, but I don't want to use this test database. I basically just created this to show you how we can create a database and tables and fields from within the command line. So I want to go to our store database. So all I have to do is type in use store. Okay, we can show tables, and there's our tables. Now let's insert some product categories first, and let me just go to that database here as well. Okay, so product categories, we have one. We have our electronics. So let's go ahead and I guess I should show you the syntax first. Let me open up Notepad real quick here. Now the syntax is, there's actually two different ways you can do this. We can say insert into, and then we want the table name. Okay, so table name, and then we want to say values, and then in here, let's say that this table has an ID field, a first name field, and a last name field. Now, if we're going to insert every field, we don't have to put the names of the column. So we could say 1 Brad Traversy. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to insert a table with the ID of 1 and the name, the first name Brad, last name Traversy, and you can see that the integers don't have quotes and the strings will have quotes. All right, now usually we won't define the ID. Okay, so we won't be doing this very much. We will be specifying the column name because we're not going to be doing the ID. It's auto increment. It'll increase with every entry. All right, so what we're going to do is insert into table name. All right, and we're going to open up some parentheses, and we would say first name, last name, and then values would be Brad. All right, so this would be what we're going to do because we're not going to define the ID. Okay, so with that information, let's close that up, and let's go ahead and add a category. So we'll say why do I keep messing that up? Insert into store. All right, so what do we have here? I'm sorry, not store. We want product categories, not the name of the database. Okay, so insert into product categories. So we have a name, a description, and what, an image. Alright, now if I click enter, it's just going to bring us to a new line, which is fine. Alright, so we're going to say values, sorry about that. Values will be, let's say, fashion, and now the description, let's see, we'll just say the latest fashions and accessories, and then the image, which would be a path to a file. So we'll just say images / fashion.jpg. Alright, let's click enter. We get OK, one row affected. So let's go ahead and make sure that that's there. If we reload, now you can see we have the fashion category. Alright, and you can also easily insert information, insert data from PHP Myadmin, which we've already done. You can click insert, or you can just double click on the actual column, and let's give this an image. We'll say images electronics.jpg. Alright, so that would be the easier way to do it, but all developers should know how to deal with the database through SQL queries. So let's do one more here, and then I'll show you how we can insert multiple values or multiple rows within one statement. So let me just click the up, which is unfortunately only going to give us by line, so we'll have to say enter and then values, and let's just change these values. Alright, let's create a category called music, and we want to change the description. We'll say music, instruments, and albums, and then the image will be music.jpg. Alright, and now what I want to do is show you how to insert multiple rows through one query. So we'll say insert, this is going to be the same, and then enter, and now we can do our categories. So let's say sports, description, sporting equipment, and I don't know, jerseys. Okay, and then the image, say sports.jpg. Alright, so now we can put a comma here, and we can add another one. So we'll put our parentheses, and let's put back our home and garden category. We'll say products for your home, and that's going to have an image called images / home.jpg, and we'll put one more, so we'll do another comma, and we'll call this auto. Description, auto parts and accessories, and finally the image path, images / auto.jpg. Alright, so instead of a comma, we want to put a semicolon to end this statement, and let me just look it over real quick. Alright, looks good. Alright, so we have an error. Alright, so I'm just going to paste in my query because we seem to be having a problem I can't find. So let's just look at this. Alright, so we have insert into product categories, name, description, image, then values, then we have 3 records that we're inserting. Okay, sporting goods, auto, home and garden. They all have a title, description, and an image. Okay, ends with a semicolon, and then that works. Alright, so now if we go and check it, now we have all of our product categories. Now I want to enter some products as well, and I just want to show you that we don't need to use the command line in order to use SQL. We can actually just go to our database and click on the SQL tab, and we can do the same stuff in here that we did in the command line. So what I'm going to do is insert some products. Alright, and I'm just going to paste these in because we're kind of running out of time. Alright, so we got quite a few products, and we're inserting the name, description, price, category, and image. Okay, now the category is going to be an ID, which is our foreign key to our categories table, or our product categories table. So you can see I have a Surface tablet, we get the description, we have the price, category 1 is electronics, and then we have the image path. Alright, so I have a couple electronics, we have some car seat covers and floor mats that will go in the auto category. We have some baseball gloves and treadmills and stuff that will go in the sports category. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to run this. Alright, so we got 11 rows inserted. So now if we go to our products table, we now have a bunch of products. Now I want to insert some other data as well. I want to insert some customers with their address, maybe a couple reviews, because we need data to work with. I want to show you how to do selects and joins and all that. So and also use PHP to look up records. So what I'm going to do is just paste in some more code into our SQL window. And I'm not going to paste in anything new. It's just going to be some insert statements like we just saw. First thing will be some customers. Alright, so we get some customers with their first name, last name, email, and I'm just using 1, 2, 3, 4 as their passwords. If this was a real life application, we wouldn't be storing regular text passwords. They would be encrypted. Alright, and then we just have their avatar. Alright, so all these that I'm going to paste in, they should run. It should all work because the IDs are all tied to their foreign keys, and we have everything set up how we need it. So if we click go, we get 7 rows inserted, and we can check that in the customers table. You can see we have all our customers now. Alright, so let's go back to the SQL window. Now what I'm going to do is paste in addresses. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in, and the first value is the customer ID. I'm just going in order. You don't have to do that, but just to make it look better and look more readable. And basically they all live on Main Street, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70 Main Street. And then this field here is the address to field, and we know that not everybody has a second line, an apartment number or something like that. So what I'm doing is setting those to null, the ones that don't have it. And the ones that do, I'll put in their apartment or their unit. And then we have the city. I have a different city for everybody. State, I'm using the abbreviations, and then zip code. Alright, so let's add that. Alright, so we have something wrong here. Server version, New York. Let's see. What do we have going on here? Oh, I don't have quotes around the apartments and units. Alright, so this unit 10 should have quotes, and that 18 should have quotes. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, so that's good. Now what I want to put in is some reviews. Alright, so we just basically have the review title, the review description, which is very short, and then the user ID, and I'm sorry, this is the rating, and then the user ID, and then the product ID. Okay, so actually user with the ID of 1 has written both of these reviews. Okay, these two, we have user 8 and user 2 that have written on the same, I'm sorry, user 3 and user 5 that have written on the same product, which is product 4. Alright, let's see, what do we, cannot add or update child row, foreign key constraint. Huh. Customer. You know what? Let me check out. Let me check out the reviews table. Check out the relation view. Store customer's ID is the customer. Product. You know what? Let's actually change this to no action. And let's go try that again. Alright, it's still giving us this error. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see what's going on here and I'll be right back. Alright, I think I know what's wrong. I think that we're referencing either a customer or a product that doesn't exist. Alright, so let's just check. Let's check the customers and look at the IDs. So we have 1 through 7, and then let's look at products. Alright, so products, we don't have a product with the ID of 2. So that's what's going on. Alright, so let's go back. Let's go back to the SQL window. And we can see here, this is referencing product 2, which doesn't exist. So I'm just going to change that. I'll change it to product 5. Alright, so there we go. Now I'm going to go back and take that no action off of the reviews table. I want it to restrict. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is paste in some page categories and then some pages. And then we should have our database filled in with data. Okay, so page categories, we're going to have 3: services, portfolio, and company. And then I'm going to paste in some pages. Okay, so we get 3 pages. Our work and testimonials are going to be in the same page category, which is portfolio. Alright, so there's our categories. There's our reviews. Alright, so now we can start to work with this data. We can create select statements and all that, update, delete. So that's what we'll start to get into in the next few sections. Alright, so we inserted some data into our database. Now what I want to do is go over select queries, how we can grab certain fields out of certain tables and display them. If you're building an application, obviously you'd use PHP or something else to perform these queries, but we're just going to perform them right in the command line, or actually we're going to do it in MySQL Workbench. We haven't really worked too much with it, so I figured we could do this in Workbench. We could just as easily do this through the command line or through Php Myadmin, but I'd like to introduce to you a couple different clients that you can use to interact with your database. Alright, so I opened up MySQL Workbench, and if you have XAMPP installed with MySQL, then you'll probably see something pop up here under MySQL connections. So we want to click on that. and that's actually going to bring us to this interface that has all of our local databases here. You can see we have our store database right here. So if we click on this arrow and we click on tables, we have all of our tables just as if we were editing this in PHP Myadmin. And you can basically do the same kinds of things, just differently. So what I want to do, like I said, we're going to select some records and display them, and we can actually do that right in here. But one thing that I just noticed is we need to change the data type of one of our fields. We need to change price. So in the products table and columns, we have price, and if I click on this down here, let's see. Down here you can see that I have it as varchar, 30 characters. Price should be a decimal, alright, because we want to be able to have $9.99, $9.95, things like that. So we just got to write a query to change this. So I'm going to write that right in here. I'm going to say alter table, and then we want the table name, which is products, and then we're going to say modify price decimal. Alright, actually we'll write that in lowercase just in case, and we could press this this little icon here and it should run it. Alright, so we have an error. Oh, table users.products doesn't exist. So right now we're actually in the users table. We need to switch to our store table, so we can say use store, and down here you can see use store. Alright, now let's go ahead and do that again. Alter table products, modify price decimal. Alright, so let's see now. Server, I want to see if we can refresh this. It looks like it still says varchar. Let's see, 12 rows affected, 9 warnings, data truncated for column. Alright, so I don't know if there was an issue because there's data already in the table. Let's open up PHP Myadmin and check it out. I find this interface to be a little easier, and I've been working with it much longer. So store, products, and we got price over here. Let's look at the structure. Price is now decimal. Alright, so that's good. So it did change. It's just not reflecting in here for some reason, but it did change. Alright, so that's good. Now what we want to do is we want to select data. Alright, and let me just show you the syntax. So what we would say, select field name 1, field name 2 from database. Alright, so this is the syntax to select whatever fields that you wanna select, or columns. Alright, when I say field name, I mean things like name, description, price, things like that. Okay, but if you don't want to write out every single field that you want to use and select, you can just use the asterisk, and that's just going to say select all from, and this shouldn't be database, this should be table name. Select all, so we could say select all from products. So let's actually do that. Alright, we want to click this little lightning bolt, and it gets us all of the products we have in the table, and it shows each column that we have, name, description, price. Alright, and we could just as well say select name from products, and it's just going to give us the name, no other columns. let's say we just want the name and the price. Alright, so that just gives us the name and the price. Now these queries are good if, let's say, you have a blog post table and you want to display all your blog posts, but sometimes you want to specific data. For instance, let's get rid of this and let's say select all from the customers table where, okay, now this is called a where clause, and we can specify a column, and we'll just say ID, and then a value. So where ID equals 3, and then we have one record that's showing up, which is the ID with the user or the customer with the ID of 3. Now we don't have to use ID, we can use any field. Let's say where first name equals Beth. Okay, so that's a string, so it should be in quotes. And then we have Beth McAdams. Now we don't only have to use the equal sign, we can actually take numbers and say if greater than or less than. For instance, let's say select all from products where price is greater than 20. We run that, and we get everything from the table that has a price greater than $20, because the price is in decimal notation. So let's say over 200. Okay, and that gets us everything that's over 200. You can see the prices right here. All right, so you could use greater than and less than on decimals and integers, basically any numeric type of value. Now we can also search for partial strings, and we can do that using a like query. So we can say select all from products where we'll say where name like, and then we want to use inside quotes, and we want to tag on a % symbol on at the end of it. Alright, so let's just say surface. Okay, let's see what that does. Okay, that gives us this surface tablet. Let's say treadmill. Alright, I guess we didn't have, I thought we had one called, I thought we had treadmill. So you saw the surface, we can even say just surf, and that'll show up. Let's just put in S. Okay, we need that % sign. And if we put in G, it gives us everything that starts with a G. Alright, Gold's Gym. And let's see, let's do search a description. And you can see that in the description we have the word treadmill in both of these, but if I say treadmill, nothing comes up, and that's because when you have just the % sign on just the end of the word, then that means that this description is going to have to start with this word. Alright, if you want to search for it anywhere within the field, then you want to put a % on the beginning as well. Okay, so now if we run this, it gives us 3 values. We have treadmill here, here, and here. Alright, and we don't even need the whole word. We can just say tread and search, and it's going to give us the same result. So this is really handy when you're creating some kind of search on a website. You just want to keep this as a variable, and basically whatever the user enters in the form will get put here and then searched, and then you'll display the results on a web page. It's not the most advanced search engine that you can build, but I mean it works, you know, it's something. So let's see. Now what I want to do is show you how you can use a conditional. Alright, we can say select something where this and that or this or that. Okay, so let's say we want to select all from products where category equals 1. All right, we've done this. So this gives us everything that's in the category with the ID of 1. All right, but now let's say we want everything in category 1 and we'll say and price is greater than 200. And we get 2 values back because only 2 of those in category 1 are over 200. Alright, now we can change this to less than, and it gives us everything under 200. So very handy. We could even say let's get rid of the price and the and. Now you can see we use the double ampersamps for and, but you can also type in and it should do the same thing. Now we can also say or, which would be represented with 2 of these pipe characters. Let's say or category equals 5. Alright, so this will give us all products in category 1 or 5. So if we scroll down here, you can see we have all 1s and then we have a couple 5s on the end as well. Now, what if we want this table to display a certain way or in a certain order? Let's say that we want it to display in alphabetical order by the name. Now that's very easy to do. All we need to do is tack on to this order by and then the field we want to order it by. So we'll say name. Now you can see that it's in alphabetical order by the name. And if for some reason you want them to be in reverse order, then we can just tack on to the end here DESC, and then we get it in reverse order. We could also just do ASC, which would be the default anyways. Okay. We can also limit the number of results. So let's say we want to run this query, but we only want the first 3. Then we could just tack on to this limit, and we need 2 parameters here. We need where the record we want to start at and how many we want to show. Alright, so we want to start at 0, so we can start at the beginning of the table, and then we want to show 3. So let's run that, and it gives us the first 3. So you can see that there's a lot of different things, different ways you can select data. And this is only the beginning. We still have concat, we have joins where we can join 2 tables together, we can group by, we can select certain fields as aliases. So this is basically scratching the surface, and that's what I want to do in this video. I just wanted to pretty much give you the basics. We will do table joins and we'll do some other things in the coming sections, but this is just basically the select query at its core. But before we get into joining tables and things like that, I want to show you how to update and delete data, and that's what we'll do next.